What qualifications does a trainer and assessor need? To become a trainer and assessor, you'll be taking on two similar but different roles, which both require you to have qualifications. Even though at first glance trainer and assessor might not seem to be very different, after all they both involve learning, they're in fact quite distinct. Remember that as a trainer, you'll most often be passing on your skills or knowledge to other people. You could also be doing things such as designing and teaching training courses and lessons, being in charge of or updating training records for your organisation, and often working with a syllabus or a set of desired learning outcomes which your candidates need to achieve. Whereas being an assessor involves checking people against those set standards to find out if people have met the desired learning outcomes, and also giving feedback to candidates to help and guide them. Now, in the past, these two roles were often kept very separate, with trainers just training people and assessment carried out by traditional exams. You're probably familiar with those from your school days, the sort of thing where everybody sat in a room working against the clock in silence with a written paper to complete. These days, however, times have moved on, and it's widely recognised that relying just on a single written exam at the end of a course isn't always the best method of assessing people. And that's especially so when you might be dealing with subjects which involve a practical element. So nowadays you'll find instead of exams, a lot of training courses tend to involve more assessment during the course itself, often carried out by the same person that does the teaching or training, and this could be you. With a dual role of trainer and assessor, you'll normally need specific qualifications in both areas. That is, qualifications which show that you're both able to teach people effectively and to assess, that is, to check or test them fairly and accurately. Exactly which qualifications you'll need often depend on the requirements set by the awarding body you're working with. Awarding bodies are those organisations who set the standards for training and assessment and are also the ones which will issue certificates for recognised qualifications. So if your candidates are working towards them, they'll definitely be expecting proper training and proper assessing. The awarding bodies, you might be familiar with these because in the past they were called exam boards, but since exams are no longer the only or even the main method they use, their title's been updated and we call them awarding bodies these days. So if you're working with an awarding body, check with them and follow their guidance as to which qualifications you should look at to qualify yourself as a trainer and assessor. If you're not working with an awarding body, you might still have a regulator or industry body or a trade organisation which sets standards for the areas that you're working in, so check with them. In terms of the most common minimum requirement for being a trainer, that's often that Level 3 AET, Award in Education and Training. This is an introduction to teaching and training where you'll learn how to plan and teach lessons, how to keep your candidates learning and make sure that they're coping with the lessons that you're giving them. The good news is that you can gain this qualification quite quickly via our online training, and once you've completed it successfully, you'll achieve the recognised City and Guilds certificate. So this is by far the most popular route for people wanting to be trainers. However, if your employer or awarding body insists on you gaining a Level 4 teaching qualification, then the one to go for is the Level 4 Certificate in Education and Training, or CET. This also gets you a nationally recognised City and Guilds certificate, but it also does take more time to complete. Think of completing this really in weeks or months rather than days. For being an assessor, there are a whole range of often overlapping qualifications which you can choose from. The most popular of these is the Level 3 CAVA, or Certificate in Assessing Vocational Achievement, which is widely recognised by regulators and awarding bodies as a requirement for people involved in assessing their qualifications. One reason for the popularity of this qualification must be its easy to pronounce acronym CAVA, which trips off the tongue nicely. Another reason is that it's quite a comprehensive qualification, covering not only the theoretical background of assessing, but also the practical parts of assessing people both in learning settings and in the workplace. The time to complete this course is usually pretty similar to the Level 3 AET we talked about for trainers. However, there are a couple of slightly shorter options to consider for assessing, including the Level 3 Award in Assessing Vocationally Related Achievement, which covers all the theory of the Level 3 Carver, but also a practical part for assessing in learning settings. The other choice is the Level 3 Award in Assessing Competence in the Work Environment, which also covers the same theory as the other two, but the practical part for this is just assessing in the workplace. Both of these are also nationally recognised qualifications, although they don't have the neat acronyms like Carver does. Nonetheless, they might be the best route for you to become a qualified assessor, because not only are they shorter and cheaper than the full Level 3 Carver course, they're also a way of you getting an up-to-date certification for your assessing work. Now, once you've got your qualifications in both assessing and training, you'll need to keep them up to date. And both awarding bodies and employers are increasingly keen on continuing professional development, or CPD. This means activities and events that you do to keep up to date, not just in your training and assessing skills, but also keeping up to date in your subject area. After all, being a trainer and assessor is an important responsibility, and nobody wants to be taught or assessed using out-of-date information or techniques. In the fast-moving world that we live in, awarding bodies, employers and candidates really are demanding accurate, high-quality training and assessment. And with the right qualifications, you could be the person providing this. So in short, as a trainer or assessor, you'll need both a qualification in training and a separate qualification in assessing, as this is a different thing. You'll also need to make sure that once you've got these, you carry on with your professional development, doing CPD courses, updates and events to keep your own skills and knowledge up to date.